My parents looked me straight in the eye and said, "Your brother deserves it more than you." I stood there with the keys to a $2.4 million company in my purse, and they didn't have a clue. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. That one sentence shattered everything. She's just average. But Ryan, he's got potential. Let's give him the house. They laughed. They toasted. While I stood behind the hallway door, listening to my own family write me off like I was a burden they couldn't wait to be done with. Before we go further, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and share button if this hit you already. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Let's keep going. I'm Mia, the daughter who cleaned up after family dinners, stayed invisible, never caused drama, the one who built something massive in silence. They thought I was just working at a small design firm. What they didn't know was I owned it. It all started 2 years ago. My older brother Ryan lost his job at the bank. Mom cried like someone died. Dad offered to cash out part of his retirement for him. And me? I got a 5-word text. "Hope you're doing okay." I didn't complain. I never did. I just worked. Late nights, silent weekends. I built a client list from scratch, landed 2 Silicon Valley contracts, hired a remote team, and grew the company revenue from $3,000 to $250,000, then $1.1 million. But I never told anyone. Not once. Last Sunday, they invited me to a family meeting. I thought it was to discuss Grandma's estate. But I walked into something very different. A celebration. For Ryan. He stood in the center, grinning. My parents handed him an envelope. I looked at Mom. "What is this?" She said it with zero hesitation. "We're giving Ryan the house. He needs it more than you do." I couldn't breathe. "You mean Grandma's house? The one she wanted split equally?" Dad scoffed. "Ryan is the one who's trying. You just design logos or whatever." And just like that, I disappeared from the room. Again. But what they didn't know was that I bought that house 6 months ago. From Grandma. Quietly. Legally. Fully paid in cash. And now they were standing in my living room, mocking me, thinking they were handing my house to Ryan like it was theirs to give. So I stayed quiet, smiled, and asked calmly, "Are you sure he deserves it?" Mom rolled her eyes. "Of course he does. He's family." I walked to the bookshelf, took out the deed, placed it on the table. Ryan blinked. "What's this?" I leaned in. "The house you think you own. I bought it 6 months ago. Grandma wanted it in strong hands." The silence in that room, it was violent. And then Ryan did something I'll never forget. He lunged at the table and ripped the deed in half. Yes. Right in front of everyone. Like destroying that paper would somehow undo the truth. "You think this makes you better than us?" he shouted, his face red with fury. "You tricked Grandma. You manipulated her." I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him and said, "Grandma gave me the house because I was the only one who visited her when she was sick. You sent her Amazon gift cards. I gave her my time." Mom stepped in, eyes wild, voice shaking. "Mia, you blindsided your family. How could you keep something like this a secret?" I looked at her, this woman who gave me silence when I needed support, and said, "Because every time I shared something, you used it to tear me down." They thought I was done. But I had one more card. I turned to Ryan. "You know that logo job I've been doing?" He sneered. "Yeah? That little art hobby?" I opened my bag, pulled out a file, and tossed it on the table. "This is a signed contract from Spotify. They hired my company for a $1.8 million campaign. And yes, my art hobby runs the firm behind it." Dad looked like he'd swallowed a knife. "This isn't possible." "Oh, it is," I said. You just never looked past your own reflection to see it. Ryan was pacing now, panicked. So what, you're rich now? That's your big revenge? I took a deep breath. No, my revenge is peace. While you're still begging for handouts, I'm hiring your former bosses to work for me. He stopped, turned. What? I nodded. Remember the startup that laid you off? I bought 49% of it last month. Guess who makes hiring decisions now? Dad's hand gripped the back of a chair like he needed help staying upright. But before anyone could speak, Mom said the one sentence that snapped the air out of the room. You need to stop this, Mia. You're ruining your brother's future. I stared at her, then smiled, and pulled out one last envelope. I figured you might say that, I said. She opened it. Inside was a letter from Grandma, written 6 months before she passed. Her exact words, "Give Mia everything. She's the only one who saw me. The only one who loved me without wanting anything in return." And that's when Dad collapsed into the chair, face buried in his hands. But you won't believe what Ryan did next. He stood up, laughed, and clapped. Slow, sarcastic claps that echoed through the room. Wow, Mia, bravo, really. You played the long game, he said, eyes locked on mine. You think you've won? You think money makes you better? I didn't respond. He stepped closer, voice low now. Just remember, money fades. Family doesn't. I tilted my head. You're right, but real family doesn't need to be bought. He flinched, like I'd hit a nerve. For the first time, I saw it. The panic behind his bravado. The fear of being irrelevant. The fear of losing control. Then he played his final card. You know what, Mia? If you were really proud of yourself, you'd tell everyone. Oh, wait. You can't, can you? Because deep down, you know you're still nothing. I stayed calm, quiet, because he didn't know. He didn't know what I had already done. I walked to the TV, picked up the remote, and clicked play on a paused video. It was a recording. A conversation from months ago, between Ryan and Grandma. In it, he laughed at her memory issues, called her a burden, said, "Can't wait till this house is mine so I can finally Airbnb it and make some real money." The room went dead silent. Mom covered her mouth. Dad's face drained. Ryan, he just froze. The color left his skin like someone had hit pause on his entire body. I never meant, he started. But the damage was already done. I turned off the TV. You wanted this house for profit. I wanted it for peace. Grandma knew the difference. He didn't say another word. He couldn't. Because in that moment, even he knew he'd lost. But this wasn't over. It changed everything. I looked around the room, at the broken faces of the people who once called me too emotional, too soft, not ambitious enough. Then I turned to all of them and said, I'm selling the house. You could hear the breath leave the room. Dad stood up. What? After all this, you're throwing it away? No, I said. I'm giving it a better purpose. Ryan scoffed. To who? Some charity? You trying to look like a saint now? I smiled, but there was fire behind it. I already finalized the papers. I'm donating the house to a nonprofit that supports young women starting their own businesses. It'll become a living space and workspace for 5 girls with dreams like mine. Mom nearly dropped her glass. You're giving away our family. Home to strangers? No, I said. You gave it away the moment you decided Ryan deserved it more than me. I'm just putting it in hands that won't waste it. Dad rubbed his temples like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. You're making a mistake. But I didn't blink. The mistake, I said slowly, was letting you convince me for years that I needed your approval to succeed. Ryan was quiet now. pacing in circles, mumbling under his breath. Then he looked at me with a desperate smile. Fine, you proved your point. You're successful. But family sticks together, right? Let's just move on, start fresh. I walked up to him and handed him a box. Inside, every birthday card he never gave me, every gift I sent him, returned unopened. Every memory I held onto, waiting for a version of him that never showed up. No, Ryan, I said softly. You're not my villain anymore. You're just someone I used to protect my peace from. Then I turned to the door. But just as I reached for the handle, Mom said something that made me stop cold. You're just like her. I turned back slowly. Who? She didn't hesitate. Your grandmother. She ruined this family too, with her secrets and her silence. And that's when I realized they never hated my success. They hated that they couldn't control it. But I wasn't done yet, because what they didn't know was that I wasn't leaving alone. A car pulled into the driveway, a sleek black Tesla, quiet, sharp, and way too expensive for this neighborhood. Ryan looked out the window. Who's that? I didn't answer. The door opened, and in walked Grandma's lawyer, Mr. Ellis. Briefcase in hand, tie neatly pressed, and an expression that could cut glass. Dad's face went pale. Why is he here? Mr. Ellis nodded politely, then turned to me. Ready, Mia? I smiled. Always. Mom's voice cracked. What is this? Why is he here now? Mr. Ellis placed 3 sealed envelopes on the table. Because Mia instructed me to deliver these after her final visit to the house. It contains the full details of Grandma's revised estate plan, updated right before her passing. Ryan laughed bitterly. Let me guess. She gave everything to Mia? But Mr. Ellis shook his head. Actually, no, she gave nothing to Mia. The room exploded. Dad shouted, See? We knew it. That house wasn't hers to begin with. But, Mr. Ellis raised a hand calmly. Let me finish. She gave nothing to Mia because Mia already purchased the house, fairly and legally. Instead, she left everything else. To someone else. The room froze. Who? Mom whispered. Mr. Ellis opened the final envelope. To a young woman named Erica, a waitress Grandma met at the hospital cafe during her treatments. She said Erica reminded her of Mia, hardworking, ignored, and underestimated. Erica is now the sole inheritor of Grandma's savings account, jewelry, and stock investments, worth roughly $890,000. Mom gasped. That's not fair. I leaned forward. No, it's justice. You ignored the woman who built this family. You mocked me for caring about her. Now you're watching the results. Ryan slumped into a chair, defeated. So we get nothing, after everything we did? Mr. Ellis tilted his head. You do get something, a lesson, and if you're wise, you'll finally learn it. But just when I thought it was all over, Mr. Ellis turned to me with one last surprise. He handed me a small black velvet box. Your grandmother wanted you to have this, Mia. Said it was your real inheritance. I opened it. Inside was a key, and the address on the tag, a penthouse in Manhattan, paid in full, under my name, and that's when I said the words I'd been holding in since the day they wrote me off. You all chose Ryan, Grandma chose me, and I chose myself. Then I walked out the door, but as I stepped into the Tesla, my phone buzzed with a new message, and that message changed everything. Again. The message was from an unknown number. Just one line. She told me if anything happened to her, I should find you. I'm her other granddaughter. My breath caught. Attached was a photo. Grandma, younger, holding a baby I'd never seen, beside a woman who looked just like me. I stared at it, heart pounding. All this time, while my family was fighting over money and houses, Grandma had been protecting a bigger secret. A sister, a whole other life. And now, I wasn't just inheriting a house or a name. I was inheriting a legacy, one I had no idea existed until now.